Welcome inside episode 553 of the Locked On Senators podcast. I'm Ross Levitan on the outskirts of enemy territory in Winnipeg, Manitoba, alongside Brandon Piller up in the Blue Mountains, and we're wearing our old Staff jerseys because it's do or die, the first ever playoff game in Belleville, and it's facing elimination against the Rochester Americans.
Massive game for Belleville, Ross, and more massive games happening in the NHL playoffs. And hopefully you guys followed along with Pillsy's playoff parlay of the day because it hit. Let's go. Let's keep the streak going. Stay tuned later in this episode for the next parlay.
Couldn't even get out of the intro without tooting your own horn. All right, sounds good. We'll get into all that. Plus, today in Sens History and more. This is the Locked On Senators podcast, your team every day.
Locked On Senators, your daily podcast on the Ottawa Senators. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Thank you for making Locked On Senators your first listen on this Friday, May 6th. And Pillsy, the Belleville Sens blew a 3-0 lead, lost in overtime in Game 1. Do they make any lineup changes tonight?
Ross, I would love for them to add some reinforcements, and who better to insert into the lineup than Ridly Greig, the Riddler. We know a guy that can put up numbers like him, that can play a physical game, and that can get under the skin of opponents. That is the perfect guy to insert in a Game 2 elimination game. I can't believe I'm saying that. First home game for the team that has home ice advantage. It's crazy, but you wouldn't want to make these players travel 4 hours. That's the part that gets me most pissed off, Ross, is that they're like, yeah, we don't want these players to drive 4 hours around Lake Ontario, so we're going to do one game in Rochester and then 2 in Belleville. Come on.
Yeah, gas prices. It's got to be.
Yeah, in this economy, jeez.
No, but it does kind of tilt the series, in my opinion, as well. Now, Belleville did jump out to a lead, so, bring it home in the third period. We're not having this conversation, but you get the win on home ice. Now Rochester comes in with a ton of momentum, and we know that they're a better team than maybe their record showed throughout the season, as they've been a perennial contender over the last few years, whereas Belleville is making their first playoff appearance in 5 seasons. And that's why Pillsy and I are throwing it back, rocking the retro look when you and your coworkers show up wearing the same thing to work. But no, in all seriousness, we had a great time in our 2 years with Belleville. Yes. Although it was cut short due to the pandemic, it would have been their first playoff season. But here we are with a chance for reinforcements. I think Ridly plays, and you know what? My locked on player. I think he could have a big impact in this game. We saw Peyton Krebs come down, of course, and I thought they were the same draft. I looked it up. Peyton Krebs 1 year older than Ridly Greig, but he had 2 assists in his first game, so why can't Ridly come in here and make an impact? No pressure, kid, but I think that could be a storyline to watch for in tonight's game. Also, what else are you hoping to see? Because I thought they played a pretty decent first 40 minutes. They were outshot, but Gus a member of the team too, and he stood tall as well.
Yeah, I thought Gus had a decent game. Like we mentioned, there's a goal or two that we didn't love from him, but overall, he had a solid game. And what I need to see from this Belleville Senators team, Ross, and I'll label it as my key to victory, is they need to get more shots on net. I mean, when you're going into overtime and you only have 17 shots on goal, there's a reason that Rochester was able to claw their way back from a 3-0 lead and take this one to overtime and ultimately finish it off with only 3 minutes left. So I really need Belleville to get more shots, and I'm going to transition this into my locked-on player, and it's going to be Igor Sokolov. I thought Sharkalov needs to smell blood in the water, and he needs to pounce, because this is it. Like, he's been great all season. He typically gets like 4 or 5 shots a game, and if he's able to do that and ramp up his offensive production, get pucks towards net, create traffic in front with that big body he's got, this team can have a lot of success. So I want to see Igor Sokolov really rip the puck towards the net here, because Arundel looked terrible to start this game, and then he was able to get into the groove of things, and he was probably the best player in overtime as he made a handful of great saves. So let's get to him early, and let's get to him often. You cannot have a playoff elimination game with only 17 shots in regulation. Can't happen.
No, can't happen at all. Now, they had 10 shots in overtime,
yeah,
which I think exaggerates that number too, right? Why couldn't you get 10 shots in a period during regulation? Excuse me. But when you're looking at for a key to victory in this game, to me, it's the power play. Both teams went 0 for 2. I think that's going to be the difference one way or another tonight, special teams. And hopefully it's a rowdy barn at CAA Arena. I'm hopeful. Now, we're not sure what ticket sales are like, but in Rochester, I mean, that's an AHL market, though. They've been around forever.
Yeah.
Their Twitter account's got like 80,000 followers. Belleville's sitting at 15.
Yeah, there's some work to be done there. And Rochester Americans have made the playoffs 47 times. So
What?
Yeah, so that's as far as AHL franchise go, that's a storied AHL franchise.
Right, 100%. The Amerks, although their social media administrator was pretty quick to snap on Aleem's Martian, on myself, snap back after the Aaron Dell post the other day on his birthday, where he got absolutely ratioed. But it's a little early. Can't be celebrating after the first quarter, Pillsy. They had us in the first half. I'm not going to lie. Well, the second half of the first game. But I think they come out with a victory tonight. I want to see hockey on Sunday afternoon. Who doesn't?
Yeah, I am very confident in this team, especially if they do get some reinforcements and you get some home cooking. You get to play in Belleville. This is such a monumental game for this franchise. Like you mentioned, first ever playoff berth. Troy Mann, when he came in, he promised that this franchise was going to have playoff success. First year, they miss it on the final day by one win, and they would have got in. Next year, COVID, no playoffs. Next year, COVID, no playoffs. And now they're in. So let's see. Troy Mann's going to have the guys fired up and ready to go. And I think we're going to see a much better effort here because ultimately, I would say the Belleville Senators lost that game. You know what I mean? Sure, I want to give some credit to Rochester coming back and they had a good performance, but Belleville let that game slip away from them and they cannot do that again. We need to see American Hockey League playoff action on Sunday afternoon. We need it.
Need it for Belleville. What's your key to victory in this one? What are you hoping to see here that would work out to be a Belleville win?
Well, I already kind of touched on it, and that's getting shots on net.
Pucks on net, pucks in deep, short shifts?
Yeah, well, hey, just pucks in deep and short shifts, I thought they did a decent job of, so I'll shorten that down to just the one key, and that's pucks on net. Like I said, I want to see Igor Sokolov ramp it up here, because I'm not saying he had a bad game. I actually thought he had a good game. He had a great assist on that first goal, nice feed over to Cole Reinhardt, but there's more to be had from him there, and I'm ready to see it.
Yeah, and he was the ire of the Rochester crowd and the players very early on, and they got the wrong guy. Logan Shaw absolutely crushed an American player. And
clean hit, if you ask me.
100%, but they were going after Igor. He's like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
And maybe the wrong tree to bark up, too. I mean, big kid. So let's see how that happens tonight. I know I'm going to be riding with the Belleville Sens, and I know that Pillsy is going to be all over his parlay because he's going in with an added jolt of confidence tonight. Before we get to all that, though, Pillsy, I believe you got a word from one of our favorite sponsors.
Yes, Ross, we do. And hey, it's playoff time. These long best-of-3 series can really get the best of you and take a lot out of you, Ross. So I would suggest the Belleville Senators head to built.com and get the protein bar that tastes like a candy bar. Igor Sokolov's going to love these. Built bars are the perfect snack to take with you on a family vacation. Who doesn't want to take a vacation to Belleville, the Bay of Quinte in May? Everyone has it circled on their calendar. So take the drive there, even if it's 4 hours. That's not a long drive. And if it is, bring some Built Bars in the car with you. They're the perfect snack to bring along. And the best part about Built Bars, they're healthy and delicious. The 1-2 punch. No more sacrificing delicious food for health. With Built Bar, you can have both of those things, and it's easy. All you have to do is go to built.com and order now. All Built Bars and Puffs are covered in 100% real chocolate. That means with Built Bar, you can eat healthy and actually enjoy doing it. If that's not enough flavor for you, then check out the Mix Box. The Mix Box comes with 12 flavors of bars and puffs, so you can try them all. I know I like every single flavor, and I think you guys will too. Built Bar makes sure that there's something for everyone. Go to built.com to get all your favorites. Banana cream pie, raspberry, double chocolate, so many more. They're all delicious, and new flavors come out all the time. So be sure to check out built.com to follow along. Use promo code LOCK15 and you're going to get yourself 15% off your next order. How about that? Use promo code LOCK15 for 15% off at built.com. It's Built Bar, the protein bar that tastes like a candy bar.
All right, Pillsy. So, bad juju or is it overdue? 2 series so far in the AHL's first round have already played 2 games. Those series are both over. No team has tied the series at 1.
I'm saying that is good juju, Ross, because the Belleville Senators, just like Built Bar is unlike any other protein bar, the Belleville Senators are unlike any other American Hockey League team. And I really think that they've got a group that can go a long way. If you missed our interview with Lassie Thompson, go check it out. He was fired up for the play-in round. And Ross asked him, hey, do you want the play-in round or do you want the bye to move ahead? He's like, give me the play-in round. Let's go. So I have to imagine Lassie speaks for the rest of the team, and they're fired up to have home games. And hey, they can have 2 home games here if they play their cards right on in tonight's game. So I think Belleville's going to change that stat, Ross.
Wow, and I'm just scrolling through here, and so many of these first round games have gone to overtime. It's actually insane. Both games in the Bridgeport Providence series went to overtime. Bridgeport won that series. Obviously, I said all the 2-game series are all done. 1 game from the San Diego, Ontario series went to overtime, so plus the 2, plus 1 in Abbotsford, Bakersfield, plus the Belleville Rochester games. So that's 5 overtime games out of 7 total in the series. Well, wow. I guess Belleville hasn't played 2 games, but we're going to count them anyways. So all these games are tight, man. 1 bounce can make an enormous difference, and that's why it's going to be great to see, hopefully, Ridly Greig in the lineup. Would you slot him into the top 6, or would he be a guy that you start on the 4th line and kind of get spot duty up and down?
I think I'll go with none of the above, and I'll go 3rd line, Ross.
Sure.
I think the top 6, that's a lot to insert a guy into a lineup like that and to have him playing those minutes, especially in a newer league and like you're going from boys to men, WHL to AHL. So I think that's a little too much to ask. And the Belleville Senators already have a formidable top 6, right? Like you get guys like Jake Lucchini, Andrew Agozzino was 3rd star of the game with 2 assists, Igor Sokolov, hopefully Victor Lodin. We're not sure. He's still dealing with an illness, so might not happen. But you get Roby Jarventi. I think they're loaded with the top 6, and I think if you get him on the 4th line, he's not going to have enough time to get into the groove of the game. So I'm going to go with 3rd line duty for Ridly Greig would work out great.
So we just pulled up the lines from game 1, just as kind of a template here. I'd say probably line 1 and 2 stay together, like you're saying, especially line 1, man. Roby was so close in overtime. And if he scores that, imagine the conversations we're having today, because Peterka looked good, but if Roby ended up getting that game winner, would be a bit of a different feeling around here. And even that 3rd line, right? Like Lucchini, Kaslik, Kelly. I mean, Ridly Greig with Kaslik and Kelly would be sweet. But what are you going to do with Lucchini? You're going to put your top scorer on the 4th line? It just seems strange.
No, here's what I would do. And this is tough because Rourke Chartier had a great goal, and I thought he played a good game. But I'm flipping Lucchini and Chartier. So Lucchini, Agozzino, and Jarventi. That is some firepower up front. And then take Wedman out. He was a -3. We talked about it with Everyday Sens. He's probably the guy that's going to come out here. And then get Chartier on the 4th line. And then, imagine a 3rd line of Ridly Greig, Mark Kaslik, and Parker Kelly. The dub line 2.0, Ross, as we coined Reinhart, Kaslik, and Kelly, the dub line. Well, this still works. So I would love to see, who better to learn for Ridly Greig on how to play a pro game the way Ridly is going to want to play it than Mark Kaslik and Parker Kelly. Those guys embody what it's like to be a agitating kind of power forward style role. So I think that'd be a great introduction for him.
Super unfortunate that Matt Sogard is still unavailable, but Gus has the experience. He's the older goalie. Hell, he might have been the starter either way.
I was going to say, I think even if Sogard's healthy, you give it to Gus, not because of Gus is a better option, but he needs to be given these opportunities now to see, for the Ottawa Senators franchise, to see what do we have in this kid. Can he shine in these big moments? Can he lead a team to victory in elimination games? And that's what I want to see, because Sogard, he's young and he's going to get his chances. There's no doubt about that. So the guy that was picked 1 spot ahead of him in the draft, Ross, is playing NHL playoff hockey right now. So Sogard, he's going to have his time to get there, but I think it's time to see what Philip Gustafsson can do.
When we look at the defense, Shout out David Foote. I don't know if you caught
Footy.
this during the broadcast. Jacob Bernard Blocker, as this guy's just been
Nice.
eating
Yep.
pucks defensively. And Tyler Ray, another friend of the show at Defense Minister on Twitter, he pointed this out. Now, I don't really look into much first, second, third pair in the AHL. They rotate 3 pairs pretty well all the time. And Lassie's a situational guy on the power play as well, first PP unit. But JBD's getting the toughest minutes on this team. He and Dylan Hetherington were the top pair, no question, in game 1. And they got to contain a pretty good offense there in Rochester. So do you look into that a little bit more, that Troy Mann is showing a bit more of an allegiance to JBD rather than Lassie?
No, because like you mentioned, it's close, right? Like I don't think it's very obscure, like who's leading one way or another. And JBD, we've talked about this many times. Like he's going to be the guy that when he has a good game, you're like, oh, I didn't even notice JBD. Yeah, great, because he's doing the smart, simple plays every time, and he's not getting to a point where he has to make a crazy defensive play, because he's usually in good areas. He's got good gap control. He can read the play. He's taking away shooting lanes and passing lanes and stuff like that. So I think, if anything, good problems to have, right? Like I think both of us were kind of more leaning towards Lassie, but then you got to remember that JBD's not going to make a name for himself with highlight reel plays. It's going to be consistent play over a long stretch of time. So I think it's a good problem to have. And JBD and Dylan Hetherington are a great shutdown pair. But how about a nice snipe top cheddar for Dylan Hetherington? So they could do a bit of both there. So that's a great first pair, if you ask me.
All right, 7 o'clock Eastern time. You can follow along on Twitter at Sens Central. Pilsy's working tonight, so we're swapping duty on the postcast. I will join at Everyday Sens. You can find that on our YouTube channel, Locked On Senators. We are getting ever so close to 2,000. Let us know what we should do. We should do a giveaway, something special for 2,000 subscribers on YouTube. You can also follow the show on Twitter at Sens Central, on Instagram, LockedOn.Senators. Pilsy is at Brandon Piller 1. I'm at Ross Levitan, and we have both been locked in to NHL playoff action. Is tonight the night that Toronto falls behind in their series coming up? We'll get into that. We'll also get into a Tankathon spin, as Crazy Eights have been the story so far. The NHL Draft Lottery coming up in just 4 days' time. Next Tuesday, the NHL Draft Lottery. And of course, Pilsy coming off a huge, enormous, surprising victory in his parlay of the day. We'll get into all that. But first, Pilsy, you've got another word from one of our favorites.
And Ross, when I'm doing my Pilsy's playoff parlay of the day, there's only one spot I do that, and it's betonline.ag. And you can check out betonline.net as well. Betonline.net is where the game starts, because it's got all the stats, info, scores, podcasts, news, everything you need to make informed decisions on betonline.ag. You can find at betonline.net. It's not just hockey. There's basketball. NBA playoffs are going on too. Baseball is heating up, and there's everything that you can possibly imagine. UFC, they've got it all for your Saturday nights. It's your number one spot for all your sports betting needs. Guys, head to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more about the trends and the actions. And follow along with the Locked On Senators podcast, because I'm going to be giving out playoff parlay of the day every single day. And when I get hot, look out. I might just win 2 in a row. That could be crazy. But to do that, you need to get in on the action. So check out betonline.net, where the game starts.
All right, Pilsy. So the NHL playoffs continue. There were some great games last night. We had an overtime thanks to a goalie standing on his head, literally, figuratively, you name it. Connor Ingram was that dude yesterday. What do you think the score is if that's Big Save Dave in net for the whole time for the Nashville Predators?
7-2.
Hey, did you see pregame? They left the score up on the Jumbotron for morning skate.
I think people are reading too much into that, Ross. As staff members, I always mess up my sides there. As staff members of the video production crew, we've been known to make a mistake or two, or maybe forget to hit the button to switch things over or something. I don't like. What are people suggesting? That Joe Sakic is like walking into the production room and
Leave it up.
The guy that's working minimum wage a couple times a week doing the Zambonis or the Jumbotron scoreboard. He's like, hey, I got a job for you. Leave that scoreboard up. We're gonna send a message. Like, I don't know. It's kind of fun, and sorry for being a party pooper here, but I don't think that was like mind games here. I literally think that was just some dude that left early after the game and forgot to hit the reset. So,
oh, dude, it's still funny nonetheless because they go
funny,
out there. If it was like a 5-4 score, I don't think it has the same impact. But the fact they got run out of the building and then it's like, oh, just in case you forgot,
yeah,
in case you missed it, Pillsy's parlay run, that kind of thing, right? So, either way, they played a bit better of a game. They still got doubled up in shots. Cale Makar, unbelievable player. The way he shakes and shimmies at the blue line. Like, I know Sens fans in their wildest dreams, they close their eyes and see Jake Sanderson as a similar player. Nobody is going to be Cale Makar. The fact, like, nobody gets by attacking forwards while holding the puck in at the blue line like Cale Makar. It's truly a remarkable gift. He gets the OT winner in that one. Nathan McKinnon scored on the first shot of the game, and then Connor Ingram made 42 consecutive saves before the final goal went in there. For Nashville, who we know has a couple Sens abroad, did they do anything? Nothing from Matt Duchene. 4 hits, 3 takeaways in 22 and a half minutes. Mark Borowiecki, -1, 5 hits, 8 block shots for Boro in only 16 minutes. So, and sorry, it wasn't that. It was actually 49 consecutive saves, or sorry, 49 total saves. So 47 in between. They scored on the first and last shot of the game and none in the middle.
Asterisk, Ross, because the Avalanche did score a goal, but it got called back for goaltender interference. And
doesn't count.
No, it doesn't count. But technically, there was a shot he didn't get there. And that was a weird goaltender interference play, though, because Lehkonen was doing everything in his power to not run into Ingram. Like, he was leaning back the other way, and then he gets shoved right on top of him, and it doesn't count. So who the hell knows what goaltender interference is these days? Like, there's no way of knowing. Like, honestly, just save everyone a bunch of time. And if a coach challenges for goaltender interference, I want them to bring over a memorabilia coin, like a big, funny, loony, fancy coin, and the coach just flips it and hands it to the ref, and that's how they do it. Because we'd have a better understanding of how it works if that was the case.
Yeah, 100%. No, that's fair. And before we move off this game, Cale Makar had 12 shots on goal. Are you kidding me? As a defenseman?
He's an offenseman, man. Jeez.
That's insane. Played 31 minutes and 6 seconds. This game went deep into overtime. The goal scored nearly halfway through, 8 minutes and 31 seconds in. It felt like a lot longer, and I'm sure even longer if you're Connor Ingram. But good on him. I'm sure we'll see him in Game 3 as that series shifts down to Nashville, down 2-0. One of only 2 series that have a 2-0 lead. 6 out of 8 series are all tied at 1. Games 3, we'll see some new venues tonight as series shift to Washington, to Tampa, to Boston. They're down 2-0. No, that's the other series there. Pittsburgh. We've got St. Louis is hosting game as well. But tonight, we'll just focus on the games tonight. And it's the same ones that started the series. Like, what does Boston have to do here on home ice? Are you convinced that they can make a series out of this?
I don't think they can make a series out of this, but coming back down 2-0, I think this is going to be a massive effort from Boston. The only thing I'm nervous about, Ross, and we kind of touched on this last episode, is them unraveling and taking undisciplined penalties, because the Bruins just cannot fathom that, like a franchise like them could be down 2-0 to a franchise like the Hurricanes. You know what I mean? Like, Brad Marchand is
the escrow.
Yeah, the escrow. Look out, the Hurricanes are ruining the escrow. But Brad Marchand's mind is spinning that some third string goalie that he's never heard of is slashing him after the whistle. Like, he can't even handle it. So I'm really worried that the Bruins are just gonna fall apart and they're just gonna get pissed off, and that Carolina Hurricanes team can take advantage of power play opportunities given to them. So it's gonna be very, very interesting to see how things go there.
The Belleville Senators. Not to go too far back, and my mind is in a pretzel because I moved off of last night's games way too early. There's other games we want to get into. Pilsy with a preview of our preview of tonight's game.
No.
But the Belleville Sens just posted 4 photos in preparation of tonight, their morning skate.
Ooh.
Ridly Greig standing in front of the net in one of them. Could that be a sign that the Riddler is, in fact, in tonight? I'll let you be the judge of that. Any conspiracy theorists out there? Or if you're listening to this just before game time and you've checked at Sens Central on Twitter, you probably already know the answer. So this could be one of those old takes exposed right away. But I will handicap it at 99% that Ridly Greig plays tonight. It would be crazy for him not to. Already scored a professional goal in the AHL. Yep. All right, we already spoke about that. I'll get back to it. A little ADHD here on a Belleville Sens game day. It's very close.
We do like Belleville. Oh, did it again.
It's very close to my heart, you could say. All right, back to last night's game because we had an exclamation mark on the home game, on the home side for two teams last night. The Rangers bounced back after their triple overtime game one loss, 5-2 the score. You see Igor Shesterkin get hit at the end of the game. Ow, my head. Ow, my back. Ow, my leg. Couldn't decide what part of his body he wanted to act was bothering him, although he did land pretty hard on his back. I'll give him that. But to me, that's just a collision. I don't even know if I would have given it 2 minutes. He was outside the crease, and Jeff Carter's just trying to get the puck. But, man, huge win nonetheless for the Rangers.
Massive win. And, yeah, that was a weird play because when I watched it live, Ross, I was like, holy crap, that's on Jeff Carter 100%. Then I watched the replay, and I'm like, no, that's on Igor Shesterkin 100%. And then I watched a different angle, and I was like, I don't know who's to blame here. Like, this is just one of those weird plays. So, yeah, I think they only called the penalties just because it caused such a stir after.
Right.
And if you're the Pittsburgh Penguins and you're on your third-string goalie, let's be honest, running the Vezina winning goalie isn't a bad idea. So I wouldn't blame the Rangers for thinking it was intentional. But it's Jeff Carter. Like, he's one of the most, I would say, one of the more respected guys in the league, a true classy veteran. So I don't think he would do that on purpose.
No, I don't think so either, but I do love a little animosity, a little storyline going into the off day as this series will shift to Pittsburgh. But, man, you look at what we saw from that series offensively, like we're getting some great efforts, both teams, both sides. And Crosby's goal was ridiculous last night. Like, we've already had a few of those moments from the best players. McKinnon's goal last night. Yep. Makar's goal the other night, game one. You got Crosby tonight, and McDavid had his moment in game one as well. So this has been a great start to the postseason. We've seen some animosity, but we've also seen the refs are calling games a lot more similar to the regular season than they have typical playoff hockey. I'd like to see it move a little bit closer to playoffs. Like, there was that little cross-checking penalty where it's just like, you got to let these guys earn it. Like, you don't call it the playoffs for nothing where, you know, you have to add that extra gear. But maybe I'm contradicting myself because we are seeing these amazing goals, amazing performances. And is that because there's a little more ice than there would have been in the old typical playoffs? Maybe, maybe not. But, I mean, either way, I just hope that we continue to see great offensive performances as well as great goaltending. Like, man, Shesterkin, 38 more saves last night. Coming off, or 39 rather, coming off what was an unbelievable performance in the loss. 78 saves he made. So in 2 games, Pilsy, he's already over 100 saves in this postseason. So hopefully we see more of that. From a Sens Abroad perspective, 5 shots, 4 hits for Mika Zibanejad. Played nearly 20 minutes. But for New York, talk about really hitting the lottery at the trade deadline. Andrew Kopp scores his second of the postseason. And Frankie Vatrano, who they got for, I believe, a 5th-round pick.
A 4th, I think,
A 4th, gets 3 points, goal and 2 assists in only 13 and a half minutes for the New York Rangers. Pittsburgh, no Sens Abroad for them, so we should move on to the other exclamation mark, Florida. They weren't going back to Washington down 2-0. They rebound, score 5 goals. They just get a little help from everyone. 5 different goal scorers for them. Claude Giroux with an assist, Sens Abroad. But what'd you think of this game?
No Tom Wilson for the Caps is an absolute series changer. Like, he got high-sticked in game one. Yeah, game one. And he missed this one, and that's a big part of the lineup gone. And sure, they still have other pieces. Obviously, Ovi, Kuznetsov, Backstrom, Oshie. But Tom Wilson, this guy was built for the playoffs. And that's why they gave him such a fat contract, because they knew he's someone that can really bring it and cause their opponents a lot of headaches and harm. So that's a massive loss for them.
Headaches and harm. I like that.
Headaches and harm. Yeah.
This postseason, to your point, Pilsy, 1 goal in 1 minute and 31 seconds before he got hurt.
Yeah.
Not bad.
Yeah.
Not bad. Stanley Cup champion, had 15 points in 21 games there when Washington got the championship in 2018. It's not going to be an easy series. I still think the Cats go up to Washington and storm the Capitol, we could say, and come out with at least one, maybe even 2 wins up there. Goaltending's just not good enough. And Samsonov went in, made 17 saves on 17 shots, but talk about too little too late. Vanacek was lit up for 5 goals on 19 shots through 40 minutes of play. A little undisciplined action from Washington as well. Garnet Hathaway got 2, 5, and a 10, I believe. Whatever it was.
Damn.
14 PIMs overall, actually, in 13 minutes. That guy is a bit of a loose cannon. Dallas, meanwhile, they tie their series 2-0. Goalie-friendly show both ways in this game, man. Like, yeah, talk about not having a whole lot of action in game 1 for Jacob Markstrom. I think it was a 16-save shutout. He only allows the 1 goal on 22 shots in this one, but he gets one up by Jake Ottinger, who is brilliant, especially in the third period.
Yeah, definitely stick taps to Ottinger. And Ross, I saw a post on Twitter, and it was just showing all the young, like minor salary goaltenders. Like if you look at the Carolina guy, Swayman, you look at Vanacek, you look at Ottinger, you look at Connor Ingram, like all these guys are making under $1 million and they're starting playoff games. Like that's intense, and that's a big part of their career, and that's going to help them in the future. So it's amazing that they're able to handle this pressure so early on in their careers.
Yeah, I believe the stat was about their about the cap by all of them. They're all like, I think there's 6 different goalies starting
that
games.
are under Bobrovsky's cap, probably.
Oh, combined for sure. Ville Husso, Louis Domingue,
there's another one. Oh,
Connor
exactly.
Ingram are all making $750K. Kochkov is making $842. Swayman and Ottinger making $925. All under $1 million. 6 players who are starting games in the NHL. And what's Vanacek making? Can't be much more than that as well.
I don't think he's making much more. So yeah, that's crazy to think of. And for Ottinger to go in there and shut out the Calgary Flames of all teams, that's pretty amazing. Although Ross, our guy Matthew Tkachuk had one of the most egregious offsides ever. Johnny Gaudreau went in on a breakaway and scored, and Tkachuk was offside by like a goddamn mile.
A Duchesne amount?
Yeah, a Duchesne amount, but it was like your PlayStation 4 controller just died, and he's just standing in the blue line as Gaudreau's charging in. So that's a tough one for Matthew Tkachuk. And him and Klingberg, talk about 2 guys that don't like each other. Whew.
Yeah, what was great is they asked Matthew Tkachuk, because Klingberg got into it with Rasmus Andersson in game 1 and had some words after, and Tkachuk goes, "Oh, it's none of my business." And then first shift, he goes after him. It's like, oh, so you are making it some of your business. But Johnny Gaudreau's face was priceless after that, because he didn't hear the whistle. And you could tell he was genuine about it. And he's, what? I thought I scored. Why is everyone attacking me? But it was like 5 seconds after the whistle. Like that. If I was the
like Ottinger also did control or died. Like he stopped playing and Gaudreau scored top shelf on him. It's like, what is going on here?
I would have gone full Ron Hextall if I was Jake Ottinger in that situation on Chris Chelios, where you go out to the blue line and just feed him a blocker.
Yeah, as a goalie with the mental head cases we don't, even if it doesn't count by a mile, we don't want to see or know that a puck went by us like that. Yeah. You can't have that. So you can't be doing that.
Talk about goalies are weird. Goalie-friendly show. Ottinger's pregame, you see that? Where he just lies on his back. He's got the butterfly spread, like the butterfly stretch, not like the goalie. Oh, he's like laying on the floor, head up, and he just throws a tennis ball up and off the wall, and then he catches it. Just guys being dudes.
I was going to say, that's not weird at all. I can picture myself as like a 15-year-old kid in my room, just like literally for hours, just on the bed, tossing a ball up and down. Born and raised on a farm, not a lot to do there, so that makes sense.
Yeah, that was a big one for you up there. Yeah, definitely not as weird as like Hellebuck or those guys with like the eye drills where they're sitting on the bench before. That's nuts. They showed the one in Ottawa where it was him, and I think Forsberg does a little bit of that before the game too. But all right, so tonight's slate, you already mentioned that we already talked about the Boston-Carolina game. Good. I have no interest in that series compared to the other 3. Because Toronto-Tampa has lived up to the hype.
Yes,
big absolutely. Time. What do you take, if any, as this year? What storylines do you take, if any, going down to Tampa, where that crowd is going to be, pardon the pun, electric for game 3.
Nice. Love it. You have to use that one. You have
We
to.
do have to also point out, like, during the season, especially snowbird season, that building, less so than Florida, but that building still fills up with a lot of road fans.
Yep.
I think we're going to see probably 80% Lightning fans. I think people underestimate how passionate that fan base is.
Ross, I would say even more because they're back-to-back
Toronto.
champs, but they're back-to-back champs, and this has been a good team for a long time.
Isn't that the arena where they kicked out fans who wear the colors of the opposition?
Well, it's a blue worst jersey matchup ever.
In the
Toronto Maple Leafs and Tampa Bay Lightning. They're the same jerseys. Like even like the tone of blue is the same. Like it's terrible to watch.
Can I do your homework, or can you do my homework for me? Or can I copy your homework? Yeah,
Sure.
Just change it up a bit so that you don't get caught. That's a different. Oh, okay. I'll slap a different logo on the front.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But if we're talking about this series, the key here is how can Toronto impose themselves physically without going over the line and being undisciplined? Like that's been a trend for the Leafs. I was going to say this series, but even farther beyond with Nazem Kadri having issues with that is they're not able to toe that line properly. And I think it's going to come back to bite them. And Tampa is, like Patrick Maroon, Corey Perry, those guys are masters at towing the line of pissing people off without getting in too much trouble in the penalty box. So the Leafs are going to have to figure out how to match that energy.
Yes, they are. And Matthew said they felt the pushback from Tampa in game 2. Now it's their turn to push back. We hope, from a Sens Abroad standpoint, looks like Jason Spezza will make his playoff debut this season for Toronto. Of course, we are looking at Nick Paul, though, who had an unbelievable assist in game 2. He was arguably the best player on the ice for Tampa in game 1 as well. Short list. They got run out of the building 5-0, but I'm excited for that series. The late games, we've got Minnesota St. Louis, which again, just going to be a fantastic kind of pushback for St. Louis, you hope, after Minnesota just put the nails to them. They were up 3-0 early in this game, had a hat trick called back, and then another guy scored a hat trick 10 seconds later. Kirill Kaprizov, shocker that he's the guy who came up strong there for Minnesota. And then Edmonton, LA, series is tied going into Los Angeles. Here again, but I feel like it's a little bit different. Not quite snowbirds, but I think we're going to see a lot of Oilers fans at Staples Center or whatever crypto bullshit they renamed the building. It's always going to be Staples Center down there. But that's going to be a fun series, man. Do you think that this last change for Los Angeles is that much more important because of Philip Deneau and his ability to shut down opposition?
I think it helps for sure. But this Oilers team, it's their time. And as long as goaltending holds up, they know they need to make a push here. And I don't think they're going to let the LA Kings have their way with them too much here. I don't think we're going to see too many or any more games where the Oilers blow them out of the building like that, though. I think this LA Kings team is defense first minded team, and that's the only way they're going to beat the Oilers. You're not going to beat them in a run and gun style game. It's just not going to happen. So I think we're going to see tighter games, but this is still the Oilers series to win.
Well, without further ado, handicap it for us, Mr. Miyagi. Pilsy with the playoff parlay of the day. He's sitting on a 1-3 record. Pilsy, 25% ain't bad. If you get a win tonight, you're looking at a profitable situation for you.
Yep.
And your hypothetical 1068 has now more than doubled.
Exactly. And Ross, that's a little pro tip for you. That's kind of the key of gambling. It's not about how many you hit or miss. It's about hitting on your big ones. And oh boy, did I go big. Usually I do $5. This time I did $10.68 and it paid off. So I'm kind of back where I started here. I'm going to go back to $5 ones just because I don't want to fly too close to the sun here, and I got to keep this thing going. So, Pilsy's playoff parlay of the day. Head to betonline.ag today, guys. I really don't know where this is going to go, Leafs and Lightning, but I'm hoping for a lot of goals. So I'm hitting the over. The over is at 6.5. It's -101. That's
nice.
Weird spot to be. Yeah, so I thought that's good value. And then I got the Oilers winning this one in LA, and their money line is at -143. So Edmonton Oilers money line, the over at 6.5 of the Toronto Tampa game. Put $5 in. You're going to win $11.91. A little bit better odds than last time. And that is Pilsy's playoff parlay of the day.
I'm actually going to ride with that. I like that. Go to
You
Bet
said you're
Online.
actually going to ride the last 3. Are you just saying that, or
No.
picks? Show me receipts. Show me receipts.
Tonight I'll be riding.
Yeah, that's what I
like
thought.
It. I like it. The over in Tampa, Toronto, and we're taking Edmonton on the road in Game 3. Now we are 4 days away. It's sneaking up quick to the NHL Draft Lottery. So if you're watching on YouTube, the Tankathon is here. We've got the Tankathon up.com/NHL, the Senators with the 7th best odds of picking either first or second, basically winning the lottery. And with the new rules, you can't move up more than 10 spots. I'm just hopeful. If it's 9th, like, come on. But we've been doing our spins so far. And if I do look here as well, so far we've done 6 spins. We've got 7th once, and we've got 8th 5 times, Billsy. So without further ado here, I'll do my first spin. Does it ever take this long?
This is going forever.
Is this what?
Oh my God.
What's going on?
Don't touch it. Don't touch it.
How long are we going to let it go?
Oh, it's spinning so fast now. What is going on?
If
you're not watching on YouTube, this is why you got to like and subscribe to our YouTube page, because this is a Tankathon moment I've never seen. Is it the Winnipeg internet? What's going on here?
I don't know what's going on. Do I stop it? We're not going to get it. Oh, there it is.
Oh, God.
That would have been unbelievable if it hit.
Well, no wonder it took so long. 2 teams bounced up a couple spots here.
That's unbelievable. Ottawa finishing 7th. We've got Seattle moving up 2 spots to number 1, and Philadelphia moving up 2 spots to number 2.
I hope Seattle gets it. Seattle or Arizona, because then, like, who cares, right?
Right. I think Seattle would be my most preferred spot here for the number
the Arizona
1.
Coyotes are a wagon up against the Sens, so let's not give them any more firepower, right?
Yeah, as long as it stays, like, just for the storyline of Montreal being the host of the draft, I just want to see them suffer a little bit.
Yeah, screw them.
Yeah. Or if Columbus wins the lottery with Chicago's pick, Chicago gets to keep it. So I think that would be kind of a little slap in the face. And Columbus already has their own pick too. And they've also been drafting really well, and a lot of guys. I like them in the future. So if we could stop another Eastern Conference team from doing well, I wouldn't mind if Chicago wins as well. All right, Pilsy, your spin here. That was quicker than ever.
Wow. Okay.
Philadelphia moves up 3 spots. Jeez, Locked On Flyers. I bet you'd be fired up here for our 2 spins today. They move up to number 1, and then Montreal moves down 1 spot to number 2. All right, so there you have it. So Ottawa stays in 7th place both times. So now we're 8 spins in. We've got number 7 3 times and number 8 5 times. And that's where we will stop today. We're going to be back on Monday for Locked On Senators. But as I mentioned, I will be here in the Postcast. And we might even have a Postcast on Sunday. Who knows? Sunday afternoon. It's at 3 o'clock Eastern, 2 o'clock Eastern start on Sunday. So we'll see if Belleville can extend the series tonight. But stop by the YouTube channel, hit subscribe, and see when we go live. It'll be right after the game. You can also follow us on social media, lockedon.senators. On Instagram and on Twitter, Sens Central. I did that backwards. I put myself in a bit of a mental pretzel. Before we go, today in Ottawa, Senators History, Pilsy, Game 5 against the New York Rangers. The Kyle Turris overtime goal that was a little bit controversial, but he had control of that puck going over the blue line, right?
Oh, yeah.
Senators, they were down how many times in that game? They kept battling back and battling back. Brassard ties it up with 1:30 left. That was a great day in Sens history.
Oh, yeah. There's so many great... it's so funny that the Sens-Rangers rivalry turned into what it did, but pretty much only in the playoffs, though, right? Like, I wouldn't say regular season up against the Rangers. Like,
Kreider.
Yeah, but I don't circle those games as, like, rivalry games, right? But in the playoffs, they tend to always match up. And, yeah, this day in Sens history, that was a beauty by Chains Out for Kyle.
Absolutely. Carlson with 3 assists. Shocker. Great game down at the CTC. Another day in Sens history. 20 years ago today, we've been kind of following that series as though Toronto is Ottawa, where they won 5-0 in game 1, while Ottawa took a 2-1 series lead. Magnus Arvidsson scored twice, and Daniel Alfredsson scored the winner for Ottawa as they beat the Toronto Maple Leafs 3-2 to take a 2-1 series lead in that best of 7. That was in the second round. I know, Leafs in the second round sounds weird to me as well, but we'll be watching the Toronto Maple Leafs tonight take on the Tampa Bay Lightning. How much fun is hate watching that series?
Oh, hate watching is a blast. Yeah, I'm definitely into that.
Any final thoughts before we go today, Pilsy?
If you guys have a doctor's appointment, make sure you get your subscriptions to the Locked On Senators podcast YouTube page, because who needs prescriptions? That's garbage. Get your subscriptions. Yes, Brandon, this is probably the most appropriate time to say I am not a doctor. I'm only handing out subscriptions, no prescriptions here.
If you listen to yesterday's show, you'll know what we're talking about.
Don't skip the ads. You can hear us mess up.
Yeah, shocker. Wow, we mess up? No way. Hopefully Belleville's not messing up tonight. We're hopeful to see Ridly Greig not looking so good for Victor Lodin, but we'll be back to break that all down tonight on the Postcast. Thank you very much for listening. This has been the Locked On Senators podcast. For Brandon Piller, I'm Ross Levitan. Talk about messing up. I said it the wrong way. This is the Locked On Senators podcast, your team every day.